shelter wouldn't allow them to take their 3 dogs.
Yeah.
And so they thought that an animal rescue group was going to take care of them. Turns out somehow they got misplaced, and the little girl was walking up and down the aisles, crying, screaming for her the name her dogs, and it was just heartbreaking.
It is.
So they have about 400 dogs over there, about 100 cats, and they are taking volunteers. If you know somebody who has lost a rescue pet pavilion at NRG Arena.
But that's some nice stories there too.
I know.
You know, here's your child or your animal that
Yeah.
has been missing, and to see the stories of reuniting.
I know, because I was over there, and you know I have a thing for boxers, so they had they were actually this video had gone viral. They had done it was rescue groups who were rescuing pets, and they showed pets in cages where the water was up to almost their bellies, and the people just left the dogs there in cages, or left them chained up, or to drown.
That's just horrible. I mean,
That's horrible.
Even to have to choose.
Yeah.
Your pet,
Right.
if you were limited. But no, it's funny that what's gone viral also is we're cracking down on dumping dogs.
Yeah.
And there was a video of a man that had actually dumped a dog.
He was in a BMW,
Yes.
and he pulled over, and the dog was on a leash.
And didn't even, and the road was busy, and he jerked him out with his leash and just let him go. And I felt so bad for that dog.
Horrible.
And I was just like, am I really just seeing that? He got charged.
Yeah, he turned himself in.
Yeah, and
As he
should.
should.
So don't you think they should get
Yeah.
charged? Because Texas doesn't do that.
Yeah, and so maybe that's something we can talk with Raina about.
Yes, I mean, think about that. I mean,
You
that's
know?
just another extension.
Of crime.
Yeah.
You
So,
know.
you
Okay.
know, yes,
Right.
they need to be charged here
Yes.
in Texas and everywhere.
Exactly.
Take care of your pets.
All right, so it's New York Fashion Week, and so a lot of us hadn't really been paying attention because we were in Harvey recovery mode, and then we switched our focus to Irma. But New York Fashion Week continued on, and there's a young lady there, and we talked about her earlier this year. Her name is Karis Rogers. Is it Karis Rogers? Yeah. And she is 11-year-old, and she has become the youngest fashion designer to show at New York Fashion Week. And
she's so cute.
She is a African American girl, beautiful dark complexion, and had been bullied most of her young years for her skin color. And so she came out with
not only from students, but also she felt from teachers as well.
Yeah. So she created these T-shirts called "Flexin' My Complexion," and turned it into a little fashion brand.
She is so cute, so bubbly,
I know.
gorgeous. I love her.
Yeah.
And the youngest to ever do a fashion show in New York.
Right. So
history.
And it's nice to see that. And this is what she said. She said, "Being an entrepreneur at just 11 years old is exciting." She says, "I am just glad that I am able to inspire others. You're never too young to chase your dreams."
So articulate. That's so cool.
I think it's a lesson for us all. You're never too young, you're never too old to chase your dreams.
I want to meet her parents.
I know.
Because that comes from the parents.
Exactly.
As well.
All right, so there's always something really bizarre at New York Fashion Week, and I saw this, and I have to bring it up. It's called vagina fashion. I'm sorry. Okay.
It's even hard to talk about.
I know, it really is. The New York Post has this, it's a Berlin-based brand that was showing at New York Fashion Week, and had the models walking down the catwalk in genital glorifying get-ups. They had bejeweled vaginas adorning a Marie Antoinette-like brocade hoop skirt, among other things.
Now, they weren't completely naked. It basically looked like a 2-inch thong in the front with jewels. And it was like little to the imagination. And it looked like a swimwear collection with a piece of cloth on it. And it was almost very Alexander Wang, very weird. It looked like they had balloons for your breasts with lace on it. There were so many weird it looked like a swimwear meets Alexander Wang collection. It was very off the wall.
So what do you think about that? I mean, why do designers do that? Because this is not going to sell.
Yeah, it's a wow factor,
attention
getter, another form of creativity. That's what fashion's all about.
Okay.
It's being expressive. And, you know, a lot of designers sometimes don't maybe get. It's more of the wow factor, I think, and the creativity, and to just be on guard. And some people can wear it, and some people can't.
Well, I will pass.
And although I must say there was like a couple of great outfits, but the most of them were not. It looked like maybe a Little Kim video, you know, that could have.
A Little Kim video. That's good.
Well, you know, she's very risque.
Yeah, this is a travel one. So Delta Airlines, you know how airlines try to encourage people when they are overbooked, like, you know, we'll give you a $200 voucher. Well, Delta Airlines did this, and nobody was moving. No one was like, oh, I need to get where I'm going. Then it went up to 500.
I would like to see everyone just looking at each other.
Yeah.
I ain't moving.
No, then it went up to 1,000. No one's moving.
I don't know. I might have wiggled a little.
No one's moving. So they just started to bid. 1,500. No one's moving. 2,000. No one's moving. 3,000. No one's moving.
Oh, I would have been gone.
4,000. So this woman, Tracy Jarvis Smith, she was the one who got a $4,000 voucher.
Might have been going. That might have been on the East Coast during the storm, but that's a lot of money.
That was a lot of money.
And I bet you that flight didn't even cost, but maybe a third of that, if that.
Well, apparently there was an ABC sports director who was on the flight, and he was documenting this.
He had his own story right there.
Exactly.
I wonder if they got video of the auction.
I think there was, but she was on Good Morning America talking about this. Can you imagine, like, $4,000 voucher? I'd be done. I'd be set. My vacation booked, everything.
Yeah. How high would you have said yes to?
I would have taken 1,000.
Right, that's what I said. You would have got a wiggle out of me.
I would have taken 1,000.
Exactly.
1,000, I'm up.
Yes. I mean, think about it. I mean, you can make some money off of these flights and just go and give up those seats.
But you know, it's just, especially when you haven't had a vacation in a while, and you know.
So I wonder if that was a voucher for a flight or cash.
No, it was a voucher.
Okay. So that's still good.
Yeah.
Hawaii.
Or more around the world.
And ay.
Yes. All right, so I just also want to remind everybody that we are streaming live on the Amazing 102.5's Facebook page and the Joyful Life Facebook page. And hello, everybody out there.
Hello, Facebook world.
If you have any comments or anything, please hit us up, leave us a message. We'd love to hear from you.
Especially if you have some questions coming up.
Yeah,
definitely hit us up and answer some of those questions.
Exactly. So, as many of you know, I am the fashion editor at the Houston Chronicle, and from time to time, I get to do a fashion shoot. I don't get to do them. I don't get to do them much anymore.
Well, you do more than fashion there, honey.
Yeah, I do. I do kind of.
You do a lot.
I know. So I did. Our new magazine, Deluxe Life, is out. It came out Friday, and pretty proud of it. We had a wonderful shoot. If you didn't know, the statement color of fall is red, and so we had a wonderful shoot.
Power.
And I meant to bring the magazine with me, but I didn't. I don't know if anybody can see this. I don't know
where can they see this online?
Can I show it closer? Can it go closer?
There we go.
There it is. It's pretty proud of it. We had a wonderful team and great photographers and even a photo assistant who is a student at Texas Southern. So,
hey, shout out Texas Southern.
Yeah, Dave Funches. So anyway, I just wanted
that was very strong and powerful.
Yeah, I wanted to give her a shout out. Even my mother said that looked good.
Oh.
Yeah. So, and you had an issue come out.
Yes, I actually had a couple of issues come out. September was a hot month for me. I did the fashion editorial for City Book magazine with the Houston Dynamo.
Wow.
Oh my! I had 3 hot dynamos, and you need to check it out.
Yeah.
It's HoustonCityBook.com. But it is very fashion forward for the guys. They were awesome, hot, sexy guys. And then I did another fashion editorial with Houstonia magazine. Like a boss is what it is. You know, women are the future.
Of course we are.
Women of the future.
It's,
Powerful
how many women are in the studio?
I am the only guy in here. I am the jam and the jelly roll over here. I've got some strong women around here. So yeah, busy month for both of us.
Busy month. And busy month coming up. I just finished a feature on J.J. Watt. For our October
I'm still
magazine.
depressed about not going to that.
Going to what?
to meet J.J. Watts with you.
When did I meet J.J.?
When you interviewed him.
Oh, for my shoot?
Yes.
Oh, that was 2 months ago.
I know, I'm still depressed.
His deadline was 5 o'clock Friday, yesterday, and he surpassed 37 million.
God, that's incredible.
It is incredible. So, we will see how he disperses it and how his foundation.
In my opinion, I have a different completely perspective on him now. To see the way he handled it, okay, great, he has star power, he can ask for it, but the manner and the way he handled it was so well executed, professional, well thought, and serious.
Right.
And it wasn't for I want to be known for being famous for this, or it was such genuine, and it was so well done and executed, and I saw a different powerful side of him on that.
It's interesting because I knew, it's interesting when you take somebody who, I'm a football fan, but I don't know all the plays or anything, and I was just interviewing him, and I talked to his mother, just as people, and they have an incredible family unit. Didn't grow up rich, didn't grow up poor, kind of in between, but they were hardworking people, raised those boys right. All of them are in the NFL.
And JJ's brother is doing amazing.
Yeah. His two brothers.
Yes, last week. In fact, his game was on point. Interceptions, tackles, everything. She got some hot, successful sons.
Well, what I also want to say is that they were raised to be, involved in the community, raised to be volunteers, raised to be part of the community. So what JJ is doing isn't different than how he's been raised.
Okay. So, hello, Mama.
Yeah. All right. Okay. So, Todd, you got a hot tip for us?
I got a lot of hot tips for y'all, but just for today. Okay, ladies. Those of you who straighten your hair, I'm going to give you a little tip on straightening your hair.
Okay, we all need that.
Who doesn't straighten your hair? But when you're straightening your hair, it can be very damaging. So in order to cause less damage to your hair, make sure you air dry your hair and not do it damp. It will damage your hair more. Less heat is better. Okay?
So you're saying don't straighten your hair when your hair is damp.
Exactly.
Make sure it's thoroughly dry.
Air dry, correct. And that will be less damaging to your hair.
1,000 questions. I'm sitting here quiet, but I'm like, I can't hold it in anymore.
What's the question?
Really? I thought then your hair would take shape and then you couldn't change it after an air dry.
No, it's much more damaging because with the heat.
Sorry, this is where I can't hold it in anymore.
It's Raina for Crime Stoppers. We're talking hair now.
Yeah, well, that's why it's a tip here, because a lot of people think exactly what you think.
Yeah, I've always thought that. I thought it had to be wet or damp, or else you can't straighten it anymore.
You want it dry, air dried, preferably, because when you have it wet, it's just going to the heat will damage your hair. Period.
When it's wet. When it's
wet as well.
More than when it's dry.
Correct.
Gotcha.
And you just don't want to damage that hair.
Yeah.
Less heat is better on your hair.
All right.
Did y'all know that?
Okay.
Okay.
Nobody.
Little tip there.
I know.
And these are my sisters with me too. Do you ever straighten your hair?
Yeah. Do I straighten my hair? I came out of the womb and I was like, can I get a Brazilian? What's happening? And if I get it and they're like, these are natural products. I'm like, I don't want natural products. I want to cry. I want to wear a mask. And I want to leave with straight hair. Yeah.
I was going to say, your hair looks naturally straight.
Oh.
You got a good job.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we have Ms. Raina from Crime Stoppers, who's going to talk all about crime and joy and everything.
And it looks fashionable.
All right, we'll be right back.
I just got your email. I sent you the wrong hot topic.
Yes, ma'am.
I specifically drafted questions because I knew we were going to have those Crime Stoppers. and I put a note. I said, I know it isn't joyful, but since we're going to be talking about women's safety, I don't know if you heard about the Kanika Jenkins story.
No.
The young woman who was found in a refrigerator from Chicago.
Oh no!
Yeah,
I thought you meant the young girl in the suitcase. Okay,
no, it's a terrible story, and I've been
domestic
following
violence or child abuse or.
Well, no, her and her friends were just at a party, and so people were saying one thing happened, and then when the video surveillance released, it actually shows that her like drunk stumbling into the
There's no air in here.
Into the around the hotel or whatever.
I was like, oh
So
my God.
I presented some of those questions, but
I felt it. I was like, oh my God.
I sent the wrong copy, so I'll send you. The other stuff I think we can use for next week, like Beyonce's publicist and Ivan McGregor. She said she life. So I included that.
Well, we did that last week.
Like
we did.
Because she was here. Because Beyonce was here. Remember you were here. We talked about Beyonce and Be Good and Bread of Life.
Okay, well, yeah, it was just newer hot topics in there.
Okay,
so that's my thing.
okay.
I'll send you the new list.
Okay.
Yeah, we had talked about a couple of those topics already.
Yeah, I was just telling her I sent her the wrong copy. Because I saved them on my computer.
Seminary.
So there were several hot topics documents.
You went to seminary.
I did.
But I'll send it later.
Very odd.
So she went to seminary before law school.
Whoa.
I know, it was very.
And ran a fashion magazine.
Yeah, it was a little odd.
And Egyptian.
And the day it's like show skin at night. It's like praise Jesus.
Were you born in Egypt?
No, I was the only one in my family born in Boston.
Okay.
Yeah.
My ex was Egyptian, and when he was a Christian, and they tattooed them.
Yes, a lot of Christians. We're Christian too. A lot of them get the tattoos.
And
You don't have it.
I didn't do that. No, it's a very orthodox thing to do, and we're strangely Southern Baptists. It's weird. Southern Baptists.
Oh my God, there are so many
I know,
weird
it's really bizarre.
out of the normal for Egyptian.
Boston, seminary, law school,
Orthodox.
or fashion magazine, and Southern Baptist.
Yeah, that they were missionaries that went to the town where my parents were from, and so
That's a Lifetime movie.
That is a Lifetime movie.
You are a Lifetime movie and executive director of
Crime Stoppers.
Stoppers. That's just
yeah.
such
All
a.
I want to know is how to have my hair straight. I love you, Robbie, but you've ruined my hair with this humidity forever.
That's so funny.
You know, everybody has their opinion on how to do certain things, but that is a common thing, and everybody has their own tricks of the trades, but that's just a basic one there.
I'm gonna try that.
Yeah. All right, so we'll just go in. Mankarious.
Yes.
Got it. Raina Mankarious.
I love hot topics. Like I just love hot topics. I'm like, no.
She was like, what?
I'm like, don't.
I don't know why I have an issue talking about vaginas. It makes me blush.
I have the same question. Is it?
And I was like,
but those
we
shows
talked
are so
about it
expensive.
before.
Yeah,
I remember I was like, I have no comment.
I don't know. Something like that. I don't know what that's for because it's not going to sell.
No.
So it's a lot for that time.
You know who would remind me of? Jean Paul Gaultier also. Because it was the nipple covers and then just showing.
Sometimes they want a entertainment factor. They want just something.
And I'm like, why waste some money on the fabric
Yeah.
and the models and.
Unless you just have money to waste. I don't know.
I'm about to come back, unless you guys wanted another song.
Oh, actually, welcome back.
Yeah.
Okay.
Welcome back, everybody. You're listening to Joyful Live with Joy Sewing and Todd Ramos on Amazing 102.5 FM.
Okay, we're pleased to have in studio Miss Raina Mankarious, who is the executive director of Crime Stoppers. That's a mouthful.
Wow.
Right.
Power to the woman.
Welcome, Raina.
Hello, I'm so happy to be
Welcome.
here. Thank you for having me.
I've been wanting to have you on for a while, and for a number of reasons. One, of course, we're going to talk about safety in crime, but two, she is super stylish. And how you become a crime stopper, and head of Crime Stoppers in Houston. How did that happen?
Oh, it's such an a crazy story, but I was, born and raised in the East Coast, and I always loved, we're an Egyptian family, we're Christian, so it's a little different. And so we grew up in a house where my parents were always talking about like law and social justice and, what can you do as a woman? If you lived in Cairo, you wouldn't have been able to do this. If we raised you over there, you couldn't do that. And, we're an extreme minority because we are Christian as well. And so I was always fascinated by that. And I found myself like in the 3rd grade, like watching the news, like riveted. And my parents like, what's wrong with you? I'm like,
go out and play.
And I'm like, it's just fascinating to me. So I've always loved it. And I, did my undergraduate, did a master's, went to law school. And knew that I wanted to help people, but I didn't know how. And then I came to Houston and interviewed for the previous executive director and fell in love with the program. It was everything I've ever been drawn to in this one nonprofit organization that I literally didn't know existed until I walked in the door. So I took an internship, and my husband nearly killed me. $10 an hour.
What was it really?
Wait, hold on. Did you hear that? She took an internship.
Well, what was it that made you say yes to that?
Everybody, if you have 100 people in a room and you say, how many of you care about your health? Everybody's going to say yes. If you say, how many of you care about animals? Not everyone's going to say. How many of you care about domestic violence? Not everyone's going to say yes. How many of you care about your personal safety? Again, everybody's going to say yes. So I knew I wanted to do something that touched everybody's lives universally. I do not have the stomach or any other about public safety. We are working with banks, we're working with retailers, we're working with homeowners, we're talking about domestic violence, elder abuse, animal cruelty, child abuse. We cyber educational content to keep people from the load is unbelievable, but we So no matter where we go, no matter what part of town, no matter what group we speak to, it's always the cyber issues. Parents have
especially
no
with
clue.
election.
Oh my gosh. And people have no clue what's going on. What she's doing, and I'm like, well, your daughter's not on Facebook. Your daughter's on Instagram and Snapchat and Kik, which is the most dangerous app out there, which we talked about today.
Kik,
it's
yes.
the most dangerous out. It's KIK. And there were some parents, and we said, how many of you guys are on Facebook? And it's like, but how many of you are on Snapchat? Woohoo! How many of you are on Instagram? Woohoo! How many are on? Well, it's like literally the most dangerous app a child can. It is one of the most, so it's stuff like that. Wherever we go, that's the thing, no matter what we start talking about, that people always walk away with saying, wait a minute, can you come back and talk specifically about safety and bullying and cyber safety and all the stuff that kids are dealing with?
Oh my gosh.
It's scary.
It is scary, and it makes you almost not want to even leave your house.
I know, but that's the problem. It's like now kids, even if you don't leave the house,
that's
like
true.
It's finding you wherever you are. There are these kids who are using like this technology of like untraceable apps, and they feel like they can bully anybody or say anything about it, anybody, because no one's going to find them.
Right.
Can you believe we're even talking about bullying with Crime Stoppers?
Oh,
I mean, in
God.
the sense that is something that you have to acknowledge and deal with?
We are in about 160 schools, and we have a free program, kindergarten through 12th grade. We've reached 1 million kids already, and what we do is it's everything your child is dealing with, things you know of and things you don't know of, and the content's age appropriate. We offer the same presentation to the parents. If they want to come, we do a specialized presentation for them, but it's, seriously, I have 3 kids, and I'm like, I just wish like you were like with me all day, every day. Never knew social media. Right. I could homeschool you, but like they would literally learn nothing. They'd be like, Beyonce's in town. Let's talk about that. We don't need to know about math or science. It's irrelevant.
Well, we have time. We're going to talk more about crime and how we can live a more safer lives. But I want to talk a little bit about you. Mm-hmm. You wanted to be Barbara Walters.
My whole life.
Barbara Walters?
My
yes.
whole life.
Okay, so tell us,
really
because yes, you wanted to be in a TV broadcaster.
I did. I remember being in 3rd grade, and President Anwar Sadat was the president of, and we were friends with his daughter. One of the diplomats in Cairo, and I remember looking over at my parents, and they were just hanging on every one of her words, and she, especially considering she was interviewing like an Arabic,
leader,
man of stature, who probably wasn't used to talking to women, but it just made such an impression. And I'm looking at my parents, and they're hanging on every word, and I'm looking at her handling him, no, you're not going to give me that answer. I asked you a different, but you're going to answer. And I just fell in love, and I turned to my parents and I said, I want to be her one day. And they were like, oh, God. We need to get her help. Like, honey, that's never going to happen. And it just changed my life. I mean, literally, if there were posters of Barbara Walters, I would have had them on my room. Like, it's so embarrassing. And I've met her twice now, and I, literally couldn't breathe meeting her. And I got to visit with her, and she kind of held my face the last time I saw her, and she said, do what you want to do, keep going. And that's right before I became the executive director of Crime Stoppers, or right after. So she's just meant so much.
Okay, so how do you go from there to seminary school, to law school, and then
to here?
Yes. And then we got to talk about the fashion magazine.
Yeah, my life is thinking a lot, but they're all connected. So again, growing up in our house, you would see, and especially the part of world that I'm used to hearing about, people kill themselves over their religion. Right. They'll kill other people over religion. Where the Middle East and that part of, Jewish, Muslim, Christian, they collide or they come together in a very powerful way. So I always found it to be so interesting how religion, the lack of it or embracing it, really can affect a person. And so I said I wanted to do a 2-year program at seminary, and just to study it. And I did it. I did a marriage and family therapy. That was my master's, marriage and family therapy. But I did it at a Christian school because I also realized that in addition to faith, everybody's a product of their family. Whether it's a perfect family, a broken family, it doesn't matter. Good or bad, you are a product of your family. So I always thought too, it was interesting when you deal with people to be able to figure them out based on their personal story. And I just loved that whole discussion. So I did that. And then people said, well, you're going to be a marriage and family therapist? And I was like, no, because I'm crying with everybody.
What did you get out of the seminary?
Oh my gosh, it was the greatest 2 years of my life.
Really?
It really was. It just was, because I love art, I love my faith, and it means a lot to me. And, it's very personal to me. But I love, the grace and the peace that it gives you to look at everything in the world, the heart, the compassion, the empathy, the understanding of why people believe what they believe. You can't cut people for what, you can't disagree and then leave it at, you've got to understand that people have their beliefs and they come from very real places, and you've got to respect each other, work together, learn to talk to each other. I learned so much in those 2 years, and especially dealing with families, doing mock therapy and actually doing, your hours and doing therapy with real kids or adults, and then the art of talking to people and extracting critical information. You guys are masters.
Right.
Listening, exactly. And being able to hear what somebody's trying to tell you, and the emotion they may be not saying, but that's there. There's so much. And so I loved it.
Which is enabling you to do a better job.
Okay.
It all comes together.
Still, the fashion magazine.
Yeah.
Okay. So she and her sister had a fashion magazine, and it was called
Platinum,
and it was International Fashion Magazine.
And how did we come up with this concept?
So my sister is an entrepreneur through and through. So growing up in the Northeast, the fall there would be leaves that were falling, and I'd be young, and my sister, who was older, she'd be like, okay, look, go get 3 of your friends, and I'm like, okay, you do anything. She's like, I want you to go to house, break the leaves, ask them to pay you 2 dimes and a nickel. You each get a dime, and I take the nickel. And I was like, okay. Your sister
was a hustler.
She's amazing. She's incredible. She's awesome. And so, but we also grew up in a house where my dad's very artistic. We love clothes. we're very, I don't know, we just love it. We've always loved it. And she'd have her science book with like a Vogue inside, and I was always the studious one that would like read my science book and her science book. But she was like really cool and fashion forward, and she was business savvy. And so one day she said, I'm going to start a fashion magazine, regional, local, Boston book, smart. It's not like 10 tips to lose 10 pounds, none of that. But it was fashion. It was awesome. And somebody picked it up. We launched it in Boston, and it ran. And then somebody in LA saw it, and they asked if he could help us roll it out nationally. We did that, and then eventually we rolled it out internationally.
Wow.
It was incredible.
How long before did it take to get international?
Within 3 years, we were international.
Wow.
And within 5 years, we had our first offer to buy the magazine, and we didn't. But that was the year of 9/11. So my sister was in New York for 9/11 Fashion Week, and so our magazine ended up closing by March that year.
Wow.
Yeah, and Vogue suffered that year.
Yeah, everybody suffered. Yeah.
Airline industry, everybody suffered.
Yeah.
But I was my sister would be like, okay, we're going to meet with whatever in New York. Please don't embarrass me. Try to act cool. I'm like, I'm very cool. She's like, no, you're not. But just try.
What did you like about the fashion?
I loved it. I loved it. I think it's artistic. I love to see people express themselves. I feel like, it's the way you present yourself, and I tell my kids this is so critically important. And whatever
good to know. Yes.
Yeah, whatever your style is, own it, and don't be afraid. And I don't care if other people like it, don't like it. Have confidence, wear it proudly, and don't try to morph yourself into something you're not. I loved every bit of it. I loved every second of it.
I spoke to some students over at University of Houston downtown last week about office dress, and I told them, I said, how you present yourself to the world is how people perceive you.
First impressions.
Yes, and I said your clothes matter. Yes. What you put on your body when you go into a job interview, when you go to work, matters.
First, you don't get a chance for a second impression.
No. You don't, and especially for girls, it's a lot of, your first impression, you can make many different first impressions. Right. It can be I'm smart, and you can tell by the way I'm dressed. It can be I'm sexy, and you can tell by the way I'm dressed. It can be I'm shy, or I'm confident, or whatever. And you pick what's right for you. I mean, for me, I've always said dress like you're smart. Dress like you know where you're going, you know what you want, and you're not going to get anywhere because of your body or the shape of your body. And my poor kids now, I remember them watching a Disney movie, and who's the Arabian princess? I forgot her name. Jasmine. The girls were like, Mommy, Jasmine's not dressed appropriately. If she were confident, she would not dress that way. And I'm like, oh, God.
Oh, how
maybe
funny.
I drilled it in too much. But, I don't know. I like to dress like
you're going somewhere.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we have more conversation, and we're going to take a little serious note about safety, how to live a more safer life. And we're here with Raina Mankarious, head of Crime Stoppers Houston. We'll be right back.
You have a great voice.
Yeah, you do.
Oh,
you speak very,
very great voice.
Great diction.
So I walked into a radio station back in Boston. I was like, please let me do anything. I'll do anything you guys want. Like, do you want Dunkin' Donuts? Dunkin' Donuts. I'm like, I'll go down the street and get you Dunkin' Donuts. I'll do anything. And they were like, I mean, you could, so just sit there. So I would sit there and I'd go get them Dunkin' Donuts. And I'd like, whatever. And one day they were like, do you want to do a radio spot? Like, and I was like, okay. And so I did it for Compassion International. And then they had me do all the radio spots.
Oh my gosh.
So good voice for radio.
Would you do one for us too?
Yes.
A little,
a drop.
Yeah. So can I stay? They're like, no, you're done. I'm like, oh, okay.
No, you have a she's a very soft, elegant voice.
Yes, it very is. You know what? I don't want to forget this.
You are a Lifetime movie.
Yes, you are.
No, I don't know about that.
No, it is.
I want to see can I see what's in
Please, they're for you guys, please. Okay. And there are plates and forks and oh my God.
This is like my weakness. Every time I'm in Uptown Park, I stop and get one.
Do you really?
But you know what?
I'm on 610.
I gained like 10 pounds apart.
Okay, I have been on the phone with so many people for a fashion show.
10 pounds.
Everybody said I drank 10 pounds.
Is one of them red velvet?
I don't remember now what I did.
Yeah, I can tell you what flavors they are.
Oh, look at you.
Do they label
So that
them?
one's vanilla bean.
Which one? This here?
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
Let me stand
Is
up.
it Nutella? I don't remember if I got Nutella. I told them to pick their four.
Which one? I feel like that one is like chocolate with vanilla under in it, the bottom part.
You're
What's
so
this
good.
one?
Vanilla bean.
Yeah,
I'll take
vanilla
that
bean.
one.
I think Nutella. I remember her saying Nutella. Was
Okay, so
popular.
this one might be Nutella.
This
Yeah.
looks like Nutella on top, though.
That's Nutella.
Yeah, because it's like hazelnut, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I
That
thought
looks like a
Nutella.
caramel one. You pick whatever you want. I'll pick whatever you don't want. I'll eat all of them.
I'm not going to eat the whole thing. I'm just going to eat half. I'm telling you, I gained.
You did not.
Yes, I did. I gained 10 pounds.
We all did.
Okay,
It did.
Not 8, not 6,
She's like,
7.
7.
I don't
I'm
even
telling
know.
you. Well, because what in them because we were doing all this coverage and no one had time to get eat, and every day we had 3 deliveries from different newspapers around the country. It's very nice, but everybody's fat now. I'm telling you, everybody
I feel like
gained.
nobody knows what day it is still.
That's true.
I do not know ever what day. I'm like
Yeah.
yesterday in Robert.
felt like Saturday yesterday.
Yeah, yeah. That we're halfway in September. I feel like I've lost a month. Yeah, yeah,
I like this song.
yeah. Okay. All right. So when we come back, we'll talk. Let's talk about. Has there been a rise in crime after Harvey or with
There's
Harvey?
been a lot of.
I want to talk about human trafficking
Yeah.
just a little bit here
Yeah.
because we are number 1 for that.
Yeah, yeah.
And
people don't
you
understand.
touched on it just briefly, but
30 seconds.
Okay. Raina Mankarious. I have to say it to myself, so I Raina Mankarious.
I wish I had a cool name.
Roman.
I always think that's the hardest thing to spot.
Well, human trafficking. Yeah.
I don't. Yeah, it's in front of us and we don't know it.
Like yeah.
Why don't I
How do
get
you
anything?
know?
Exactly, that's what I want to talk about.
Yeah.
Welcome back, everybody. Joyful Life with Joy Selling and Todd Ramos on Amazing 102.5 FM.
We've been having a fun conversation with Executive Director of Crime Stoppers, Raina Mankarious, and we're going to turn it a little bit serious and really talk about crime and some of the issues in Houston. One of the major issues is that human trafficking.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I don't know if people know that, and just how can we help? How do you spot that? I have no idea what to look for.
I mean, aren't we number 1 in human trafficking?
We're the nation's hub for human trafficking.
Yes, that's what I
Houston
thought.
is. Yeah, which is really,
Crazy.
really scary. And what's worse is that when we go talk to people, we've had people say, well, people really shouldn't come here without proper documentation, and then what do you expect? And blah, blah. And I say, well, wait
People
a minute.
say that?
Yes.
All the time. And because they don't understand what human trafficking is.
Uh-huh.
There's 2 types. There's the labor trafficking and there's the sex trafficking. And certainly you're at a higher risk for labor trafficking if you do come here with absolutely no documentation. You have no way to fight for yourself.
Right.
You're here if obviously that's a problem. But sex trafficking, 83% of sex trafficking victims are born and raised in the USA. There are
Whoa.
daughters, there are sons, there are kids that run away, there are kids that get lured through other means. I just dealt with a family whose daughter was human trafficked out of a very well-known Houston area high school. The poacher was also a student in the school.
What?
Yes, and so, but people don't realize that it's our kids that can become affected by this. So what you want to look for when you're out and about are people who have no control over what they're doing. They don't make eye contact. Obviously, you're going to be in a certain industry. They're offering a certain service, and we've had people say even when they're out. I saw a girl. She was with a well-dressed man. She was standing behind. She didn't seem to have a say in what they were doing, where they were going. They were in a hotel, and if you try to talk to her, she's not answering you. So it's a very tricky thing because you don't want to walk up to every person, but
Right.
you can observe, and especially where you are. Crime Stoppers has been really big about education, and even Uber drivers, taxi cabs, hotels, so that it's harder for human traffickers to hide, in plain sight.
What can you do if you spot something of someone in trouble like that? What is it that one can do?
Oh my gosh, you can call law enforcement right away, identify where you are, identify where the victim is. If you feel safe and this is risky, but you can get involved personally. But that's a very dangerous thing, because these victims are high-priced commodity. They're very valuable in dollar, which is horrible to the person that has them in their possession. So, and she was rescued.
Fantastic.
What advice could you, I guess, give for somebody who has been captured, so to speak, and what they can do?
The biggest thing is, even 5 years ago, the victims were looked at as like part of the problem. But our laws have changed. We protect we protect victims, and it's important to realize you should never be ashamed. You don't need to be afraid. Your community is going to embrace you. Your community is going to do whatever they can, especially Houston. I mean, look at our city. We're like the greatest city on earth. There are so many resources to get you back up on your feet. You are not defined by that victimization or any victimization. But unfortunately, we know a lot of girls that, whether they ran away, we know one that gave her information out on Snapchat and just said, I need a ride home, and a human trafficker picked her up from a great neighborhood. Because she was connected to him and didn't realize he was a human trafficker. He picked her up, and she was trafficked for 8 days before her family found her. And she was never able to come back home because of the shame. And you don't have to carry that shame. There's hope. There's hope after any tragedy.
What about parents and parents with children who are listening on Facebook, who are scared to death that how to protect your child?
The biggest thing is, parents, please just become aware of what's going on. So many parents, myself, all of us, we're so busy. We're working. We're living our lives. We're managing kids. You're trying to function, and then on top of it, you need to dive into the world of human trafficking or just cyber safety. It's hard, and where do you start? But you have to. You absolutely have to. If you think that you've moved to a great neighborhood to shield your child from it, you're lying to yourself. If you think it's everywhere. If you think your child's too smart to get involved in that, you're lying to yourself, because these predators are seasoned and trained, and they are masterminds at luring your kids away, and they'll spend a week, a month, a year, 2 years to get a child that they have their eyes on.
And what about boys? Are boys at risk too?
They absolutely are at risk, and it's same. It is not a female specific issue. It is boys and girls alike, especially kids that are high risk for running away. I know some statistics show within 24 to 48 hours those kids are picked up by human traffickers. So we've got to talk to our kids at every level, at every stage, no matter where you live in the city, about all issues that can potentially target them.
One question about the human trafficking, and then we'll move on to something else. But is this a white thing? Is it the black thing? Is it all different ethnicities? What is it?
Everything.
Okay.
And the average age is about 13 years old.
Oh my
yes.
gosh.
But it is everything. I mean, the younger, the more expensive. So I mean, it's horrible on every level. But it is not one specific gender, color, race, creed, anything. Anyone can be a target.
Why do you think it's not more talked about? Or I just feel like, I mean, we're number one in human trafficking. That is barbaric to me.
I know.
And so I feel like it's not talked about enough.
I think I'll add to that and say we're number one in human trafficking, but we're also number one in prevention. We work really, really hard to prevent and educate. We're very good at education, except for the fact that mainstream media sometimes, or the popular conversations, are things you want to feel like you relate to, or that can affect you. Nobody wants to feel like human trafficking can affect them or their kids, and nobody feels they can relate to it.
Sure.
So it's one of those taboo topics we don't want to talk about, and we don't want to think has anything to do with us, so we kind of push it aside. It's somebody else's problem.
What are other things that we could do for personal safety? I mean, that's a big topic, but are there any things that on top of your...
Oh my gosh, there's so many.
Okay.
Especially for men and women the same. Of course, online it's what you post. There's even with Hurricane Harvey,
right?
So many people were saying, I'm so sad I have to flee my home, and they're taking pictures of their home before they go and they're posting it. Well, an average criminal knows you're no longer there. You definitely have no alarm service. It's your home is not locked.
You know what I'm talking about.
And it's easy to go in and out, and that's why we saw such a spike in home lootings. Now, we didn't have the looters that walked into Macy's and took a bunch of stuff, no, but we did have a lot of home looting cases. So be mindful of what you post. Still do that. People don't think about that anymore, but you've got to be mindful about what you post. Women especially need to know the trends. For Houston, it's sliders, it's, you go to the gas station, you fill up your car, you leave your purse in the back seat, people come in, grab your purse. It's walking around the mall, it's walking around the park, it's home invasions. There's so many different, it's walking out of the bank and having cash in your hand and an hour later having somebody rob you. So there's just public safety. It's not about being and that's all it is.
Well, I've had, being in media, I've had a number of stalkers, and I hadn't had that experience until I got really more doing TV and radio, and it's scary because you feel awfully helpless, and not everybody understands that. And when you say, look, there's somebody who found me on Facebook because my profile's open, and next thing you know, they show up in the lobby of my newspaper.
Oh my gosh.
And I've had that happen probably 3 or 4 times.
Oh.
And
different people. Oh my gosh.
And then what was interesting is that I used to get, whenever I would do TV, I would always get letters from jail, from prisons.
What?
Oh yeah. And ask any of the female anchors, and they will say the same thing. And so I remember I was talking to Melinda Spalding, who used to be on Fox, and she said, make sure you keep those letters. Don't throw them out because they get out of prison.
Yeah.
And she says, and you will need that. And so I used to keep packages, and I would turn them over to HR and make copies for myself just so that I would have them, just in case.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
So it's really important